weapons, which would mean a less likely chance of him getting his hands on the weapons.
But here's the thing. The government is blaming violent video games for mass murders. Like, there's been lots of deaths for people, even though that the gun violence is the real solution that's causing the violence.
I agree with Alonso because really they blame everything on, like on the Sandy Hook, the person who killed all the kids and teachers was someone who played violent video games and like wrote down how was the targets of people, like who was he gonna kill, and that's not really the fault. It's just that the video game teached him something.
I thought, if I remember correctly, I thought it was like other mass murderers, how many people they killed, and he was gonna go and try and.
Okay, keep going.
He was going to try and like beat the high score. Sadistic, really sadistic.
I agree with Cire and Alonso that like for the Sandy Hook, Alonso, he was an awkward boy, and he had no friends, so he just played violent video games. But it was actually not the video game's fault that he was violent. It was just like that the person chose to be violent, so it wasn't actually the video game's fault. It was his fault playing the video games.
So I agree with all the kids that say it was the violent video games that did the violence, because actually that Alonso guy kind of got a bit craziness with that. So I thought one reason they could stop making violence is by making kids under 13 not play violent video games.
I disagree with Isaiah because I think it's the video game's fault because it's really like gory and the kid might like be in like a contest or something and like he might be forced to play a violent video game and it can like persuade him to like do violent stuff, and if it was less gore, like if there was less glorification, he probably would most likely not be persuaded to kill or anything.
Okay. So if you were just saying that it's not the video game's fault that somebody is violent, if that was your argument, you would want to make sure that you're writing down Izzy's counter-argument about the fact that they are gory can be persuasive to people.
I disagree with Isabella because why do you think the video game wants the player to think, hey, I want to kill somebody, when even though that they may even be a little kid, they already know that they shouldn't do that, when the real thing that you should be playing at is the gun control, because there are very limited laws for the gun.
Can someone who hasn't spoken yet maybe step in and talk about some of the evidence we were able to see about what violent video games does to children in the short term? Does anybody remember any evidence of that?
Yeah, it says it increases violence in thoughts, acts, and actions.
That would be another thing to put to your counter-argument, increases thoughts of violence.
I disagree with Louise because in the passage it said it's not been proven by social scientists for years.
That Jorge was long-term effects they were talking about. They were talking about long-term effects, saying it could not be proven. They were saying short-term effects could be proven. You were saying that short-term effects could not be proven.
So that's points for both of you to write down. So if you're saying that it increases violent behavior, you want to say that it only shows that in the short term.
And to
I'm going to add to Andrew's point about he was trying to beat the high score, but it's not like in a video game where it's like not even in real life. It's actually in real life where it's basically trying to play a video game in real life, trying to beat a high score. And that's like really, that would be really bad. Like if you see some of the video games.
I I disagree with everybody who said that it was the video game's fault because it wasn't really their fault. They don't just go talk and say play with me or else. They just sit there and you choose to get it and play with it. So it doesn't really talk to you.
Can someone talk about some reasons why kids might enjoy playing the violent video games? Somebody hasn't spoken.
I think that kids might enjoy playing violent video games because it's fun first of all, and you get to control the player, and also like if you're having like a bad day or you're pretty mad, you don't have to like express your anger out on other people or actual objects. You could just play the game and do whatever, like shoot people.
I agree and disagree with Isaiah because people can let their anger out on a video game, but some people might think it's not enough and decide that they want to like be like the video game, like their player, and might decide to like get a weapon and hurt someone.
Yeah, like if, like as you were saying, you were saying that the game, you can let your anger out on the game, but there's other ways to let your anger out, not necessarily.
Can you think of some healthy habits?
Like writing in a journal or just
Yeah, so Isaiah, for your counter argument, if it's for kids expressing anger, you'd want to say different, maybe more healthy ways for kids to express anger is the counter argument. So go ahead and add that on the other side.
I have a new topic about the age of the kids who play these violent video games. Why is there a rating that says M for mature, which clearly says 18 and older, but kids who are younger don't obey that thing?
So what would you propose to be done in that case?
Like, if parents, well really the parents are just going to buy the game and the people who sell the game aren't really going to notice, they don't really think the kid's going to play, they think the adult's going to play, but really the kids play.
Yeah, but when you buy a game, they don't really care about the end sign or whatever. They just buy the game.
Yeah.
I disagree with Caesar because if you don't want a child to play a violent video game, the parents could just put parental control on it, and then they won't be able to play the game because it has parental controls on it.
I disagree with Alonso because some video games you can't put parental guidance on it.
I think how loose it is right now with they put an M on it or some suggested rating for who should be playing with it. I think that's why there's this issue that's here, is because it isn't, like Caesar was saying, it's not well enforced. And so the question is, rather than having just a little sign on the video game, should there actually be real laws with teeth, right? Like you cannot show these things in the violent video games, or you need to have like an ID before the kid can buy it. Because for the game companies, do they make money if a kid buys a violent game?
Yes.
Yes, right? So they don't have any reason looking at like a financial gain, looking at, how much money can I make? They don't have any reason not to make it violent, not to allow kids to buy it. So the question is, do we need laws to really make it so that if you're under a certain age, you can't play violent video games?
I kind of disagree with Caesar about what he said about controlling, or someone said about who could let their anger out on the game, because you don't have to play the violent video game. There's other games you can play with, like there's Mario Kart Racing. You just race with people, and you can let your anger out by winning, and it'll influence you to be racing without the power.
Okay, if you haven't stepped in yet, please take this time to step in. Tell us what you think about how we could reduce violence in America. Either gun controls or video games, what should we be doing?
Well, I disagree with Isaiah because, not a lot of kids want to play that game because they're older. Yeah.
So there's a sense that the violent games are kind of what? How would you describe them? They what?
They persuade you to play because they're violent. And also, something that Sim said, like some, also I just include Isaiah because some people don't want to play like Mario Kart, even though it's super cute. People like want to seem super cool because they're playing like awesome glorification, like all this gory stuff, and like really, it's like really bad for them because it can persuade them to do really bad stuff.
I think that what Izzy's saying is that the graphics and the kids get attracted to how realistic they look, and maybe they, since what she said about everyone's playing it, they're just trying to fit in with these people. Maybe they just want to be friends and talk about it.
Because again, someone who hasn't spoken yet, can you step in and tell us what you think about the issue?
I agree with Caesar because there's a lot of games like Modern Warfare, it's the same thing with Call of Duty, and there's a lot of gory stuff. Like when you shoot someone, like a lot of blood just comes out, and on some games you could just go to settings or yeah, I agree with Caesar.
So the blood, to you, does that make it what? Agreeing with Caesar, that makes it cool, or that makes it realistic?
Sort of, I guess, because some things like that do happen a lot.
So does that support, do you think, the argument that there should be like restrictions on that kind of violence in video games, or do you think that's still like it's just entertainment, doesn't matter if it's bloody?
I think there should be restrictions for it.
Cyree, what do you think?
You can't really stop a kid from like going out with it because if their parents
Do you think it has any negative impact on our culture? Do you think America would be a better place without violent video games? Or do you think it doesn't have an impact?
no impact because kids can take out their anger instead of people. So yeah, or you can take out your anger by like that boxing game fight.
And you once told me that you thought it wasn't true that it makes people violent because, do you remember what you said that one time?
No.
You said because you play it all the time, but you're not.
No, I'm not violent.
Exactly, right? So your personal experience is that you can play it without it making you
Violent.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Not the games.
We haven't heard from Earline. What do you think about violent video games?
That kids should not play violent games because it's teaching bad things.
Yeah.
I disagree with Cire because even though if you box, that's still violence, and it'll teach you the new moves of how to punch people in the face or faces. So then it'll be like you're boxing someone, and then in real life when you're at school and somebody bullies you, you just feel so angry that you use some techniques to silence your friends.
Like brain
But
patterns
also,
that get
if you're
established.
playing a boxing game, the teacher have to defend yourself.
I disagree with Cyree. I agree with Caesar, Isaiah, and Miss Ambrose. Because Caesar said the graphics now look so realistic that it can actually be real. And real what you said earlier when the tables were normal, you said to a student, said like in the 1980s, it was like very fake and not so realistic. Also Isaiah, because there was a kid that I knew that played a violent video game and he used that same move and someone got in trouble. And Cyree, I disagree with you.
So Cyree's saying maybe you use that move. I thought somebody was saying in like protecting yourself.
Yeah. In boxing, it teaches you how to protect yourself, like Bob and Lee.
Yeah, but you could just take a martial arts class. You don't have to play on the violent video game.
Well, which was more funner, learning from a game or from a martial arts teacher?
Well, I mean, like, if you play the game and Isaiah is saying that you could take it out on other students, and you're saying that it teaches you how to protect yourself, there's other ways for you to protect yourself. Like, there's a lot of security around everywhere. Like, there's everything in, like, the USA. Like, there's so much security. It's crazy. You don't need to, like it's not necessary.
You think security?
What security? Like,